Sometimes a controller is going to get squirrely on you, and we'll recommend doing a factory reset that wipes the controller and allows you to set it back up again as though it was a fresh one. To do that, the controller on the side of it, yours will look a little different. They now come with black, larger buttons on them, but you'll still see the little window next to it. So if you do a press, release, do that like 7 times total. This will switch to an alternating orange and green, and the attached lights will do like a quick white chase. And that is an indication that has been factory reset. If you do a factory reset on a device, it will return to the network and the group that it was installed in, so you won't see any changes in the app, but it should give it a redo and get you going again. If you need to do a warranty replacement where you're swapping one controller with another, we'll show you how to do that now. If you have to do an exchange between one controller and another, this is how you're going to do that. First and foremost, because of the way that the tiered pricing structure works, you want to delete the controller from the app first, because what that's going to do is it's going to take the credit that is associated with the number of lights and it's going to put it on your account, so that when you onboard the new controller, it's going to use that credit and you're not going to have to pay the fee twice. So, but you do have to remember to do the deletion. So you're going to go into your group, then you're going to go to the controller that you want to delete so that you get the squiggle in the top middle. Then there's that pencil edit to the upper right. If you hit the pencil edit, one of your choices at the bottom is delete. That will delete the controller from the app. You're going to want to do that while you're in proximity to that controller, like your normal communication distance. That makes things go a little bit better. Sometimes you're presented with an inability to contact it, like if the controller is completely dead and it can't contact it, you can still force its removal through that process. So then you're going to go back and you're going to onboard the new controller just like we showed you in the other videos, and that will complete a warranty swap. Some of the other potential issues you're going to run into, we commonly call the blinkies and the flashies. Sometimes you'll get a strobe or a weird like stutter in the data. That is oftentimes an indication that there is something wrong with the wiring itself. Check the backs of your extensions to make sure that they're seated properly, and there's also no cracking happening just behind the heads where the molded plastic meets the wire, especially if they're the silver variety. Make sure that you've got data boosters on each side of a T-way. That is also another way that we occasionally get the flashies. Also, there's a batch of purple power supplies that have been known to cause that issue. Those should not be in the field anymore, so we should not have that problem because we're back on the mean wells. But in case you're servicing an older version, that may be something you come across. Also, make sure that there's no wires that are pinched or twisted too tightly under a cap or going around a corner or something like that. That'll clear up most of those string-related issues. Issues regarding scheduling. Every once in a while, you're going to end up with a client that does some weird schedule thing where they're going to call you and tell you the lights keep coming on even though they've deleted the schedule or something like that. Sometimes they don't understand that they might be in gateway mode or not in a gateway mode, and the schedules are different. So there might be some confusion with that. The easiest thing to do is in the installer app, go to your settings, your installer tools, and then there is a delete all schedules button. Here, I'll move it up to the top. So right there, it's that delete all schedules button. That is going to nuke the schedules at the hardware device level. And then you can go back into your scheduler and reapply them. But if they have what we call a ghost schedule, where it's something that was scheduled but they can't find it in the app anymore, that is the way to get rid of it. And then, like I said, you'll just be able to go into your typical scheduler and reapply the schedules. They'll show up in there, but they won't be active until you reapply. We're also going to show you a tool in here for installers called Command Center. It's one of those tools that if used incorrectly can be kind of dangerous, but we'll show you anyway. If you go under the 3-line hamburger menu, settings, installer tools, then it is Command Center. And what this does is it searches to find all of the MeshTech devices in the area and can tell you useful information about them. If nothing shows up at first, usually you kind of tap that rescue button a couple of times, and generally after a few seconds you'll see a pop-up, a colored circle indicating one circle each for every controller. So in my instance, I'm sitting here with my controller and my gateway, so that's probably why you see both circles. If you touch on it, it'll highlight the circle, it'll tell you what the MAC address is, what model it is, what firmware version it's on, and the commissioned means does it belong to a network or not. Would be 7, that should be my gateway, and that should be my controller because of the firmware versions. This is a really good tool to use if you end up with a scrambled firmware install, and that's usually indicated by a solid white on the controller, attached lights with a red flash every once in a while. If you open this up, watch the bottom where it says minimum app version needed is 2.4 on the bottom. Over the top of that, it will have a banner saying, hey, I found a MeshTech device that has corrupt firmware. Do you want me to update it and go ahead and fix it? You're going to want to do that. That's definitely a way of freeing a bricked controller where you otherwise can't see it in the normal onboarding process. Every once in a while, we'll ask you some information about this. This is a way to force a firmware update if it doesn't show up in the other way, but we do prefer that you use the typical 3-line hamburger menu and then update firmware from that process and not through this process. But this is a way of, like I said, freeing some of the bricked controllers. So that's the quick rundown on Command Center. Gateways are another thing that you might have to deal with when you're doing some troubleshooting. If you take a look at the screen, the gateway is always towards the top. It'll tell you what the name of it is, and it'll give you a status. It should be reading a status of online. Sometimes it doesn't. You can do a couple of different things to try to see if it's actually offline or if it's just a weird app thing. If you grab the app and you pull it down and let go, it'll do a refresh. That's one thing. You can also do the 3-line hamburger menu, my profile, log out, and then log back in. That'll force a replication to the server. If all else fails and it's still reading offline and you installed it properly, you got all 3 check marks during the install, then what you're going to want to do is click on the gateway and shoot us a copy of this screen. This screen will help the developers figure out where your gateway is, see if they can log into it, and see if there's anything that they can do to help. So there's not really a whole lot you can do with gateways, but those 3 things will solve a lot. Also, power cycling the thing, unplug it from power, plug it back in, give it 5 minutes, and try it again. That's about all you can really do with gateways. And then, like I said, you need to escalate. You need this screen to help us do that.